tonight. Ain't drunk. Can you?
You are listening to the Doug Stanhope Podcast.
The potato peelings in the sink did not turn into vodka as I had hoped. I only start to need a drink after the liquor stores have closed. I heard you changed your name again, but don't you change your hair. It was the only thing I liked about you in the end. La la la.
All right, now we're going to go back in time a little bit to Sacramento on that West Coast tour of the Last Gasp tour with Late at Night with Glenn Wool and Barry Sobel live from some hotel I smoked in. This is a Doug Stanhope surprise podcast in the middle of the night at the Residence Inn with Barry Sobel and Glenn Wool. Glenn Wool, only one at the mic.
Hello.
Hello, Bingo. You're cocktailing because Chaille just showed up. Take your time.
Barry's,
it's a podcast.
He's
no
got
one gives
some
a fuck.
McDonald's food.
But hey, wait, you said come on over for a party. There's no surprise party here for me.
It's a surprise podcast. I didn't know I was doing it till Chaille just came out and said, hey, the podcast gear is running. Just go over and talk into the mic.
No, I'm such
so
a pussy,
we are.
though. I was worried when you were like, tomorrow we'll drink cocktails and watch the World Cup.
First of all, it's a podcast. Don't do what you did at the goddamn show and try to talk off mic to get more attention. Get the mic towards your face.
You watch.
It only sucks because in the green room, this is a pet peeve of mine. I'll trash Barry Sobel for this in a second.
Hopefully.
I can't go out into the crowd and watch you guys. You guys, there's no one on my show that I don't want to watch. So I have to listen from the wings, and you talked off mic so badly that I had to like lean in towards the guy that wants to ask me for a fucking photograph in the middle of a show.
Well, apparently it wasn't such a big deal because it was one of your bits. So
what?
No, he said the first bit was
no,
the
the
same
one you did one bit that was similar.
No,
Is that all right, comics? Call my burner phone at 520-366-1078. Is this
You have
not
a Breaking Bad burner phone?
Yeah,
Awesome.
just for the podcast.
Yo, Mr.
All right, Barry Sobel, comedy legend. If you've seen the movie Punchline, you're weird unless you're an old comic.
And it inspired you to get your own locker.
Yeah, exactly. A horrible movie. You were in Punchline, right? I keep saying that. And what if I was wrong?
Not only was I in it, I was a consultant to the film.
So
right.
why didn't you tell him about the lockers?
I'll explain the whole thing, but I'm going to explain it in an Albert Brooks story.
Hang on. I want to ask
So
the
the
question
locker thing is
first.
gonna-
Hang on. Go into that because you're
Right now?
going to carry
We
this.
don't have a
but I
better
want to
thing than
ask.
an Albert Brooks
No, this
story.
is it's an honest question. When you see a comic that's a peer doing something that you know another comic is doing, it's very awkward to go, do I tell him that there's another comic that bit's kind of famous? Like, I see this all the time now, but now we're of an age, you and I, Barry, where you go, no one even knows that fucking comic, much less that bit, so do you let it ride?
Well, I saw Jeff Ross, who's super famous,
Yep.
Jeffrey Ross, a few months ago in New York City, and he did a joke that I thought of as well. But I don't have anything, my stuff is pretty abstract. It's like nothing nobody does. But I thought of this one thing where I go, like, you know how people like text you?
Yeah.
Right? But people actually call you on the phone now. I go, calling you on the phone is like the unwanted, like somebody knocks on your door. Right? I mean, this is the way I had that thought. Out of nowhere, he does it exactly word for word, but I never said it. It was like in my notebook and a thing. So just to protect myself, I go, hey, I do that.
Yeah. Or I was
thinking
of doing that.
I'm sure somebody wrote it for him anyway. So I just wanted, but I wrote it for
Do you
myself.
think
and
Jeff Ross can afford a fucking writer?
I think.
No,
maybe.
he doesn't have to. He does a roast a year. That's his joke.
It is pretty
Point
awkward
is,
when people
if
have
you
to
saw a good friend do a bit where someone else has done a bit that's very well known, do you tell him?
Yeah, I think you do. But I think if you know in your heart that you wrote it, you can remember how you wrote it. You remember the things.
No, I'm not talking about stealing material. I'm saying someone who did you had the same idea that Jeff Ross had, and you're doing it, but you don't know that Jeff Ross already has that out on a Comedy Central thing.
Sure.
It's always an awkward thing where you go, I know you didn't steal it, but I don't want to be a dick.
But here's the whole thing: is like when I saw your stuff tonight. And I was lucky enough to do the show with you. And awkwardly enough, like half the stuff you do, I do that stuff. And I didn't know what to say because I was like so lucky to get the gig. It was like it's such an honor to perform with him. I've been where have I been for years? And so I go like, I don't want to like maybe he'll have me on more shows. But then if I bring it up, but then organically he just mentioned it right here. And the crazy people think
it's just
all right. Where were you going? Where were you going?
It's just lucky that you didn't do your good stuff tonight. Which was
See what you're saying? See what you're saying?
Where were you going?
Is there a way to get a beer in this surprise?
Yeah, he's getting it. Don't worry. Bingo and Chaille are take care.
I was.
No,
I was at it used to be one of my best things I got to do in life was be Jimmy Fallon's best friend. And once I think he took me to I went to a million parties at Drew Barrymore's house, and out of nowhere, and then she became a friend was the awesomest thing ever. And it's like completely like super A-list. What's Barry Sobel doing here? I'm like the only person. Out of nowhere, this is now. Remember, Punchline came out in what 88,
89.
So anyway, out of nowhere,
before I did comedy, and I started in 90. So it's
even
80. No one
86.
gives a fuck that listens to this podcast.
Well, here's the whole thing. Albert Brooks is there at the party. It's the party is definitely in the 2000s. 15, 20 years after the movie. In the 2000s, the Albert Brooks.
When did you do this?
Hang on, he dropped three names before he got to the point of the story.
Well, the point of the story is Albert
and only
Brooks.
two of the names my audience wouldn't recognize. Drew Barrymore.
Wait, Albert Brooks? They don't know Albert Brooks?
No, not my audience. What? You saw my audience. They're fucking 22-year-olds in Misfits T-shirts.
Fair enough. Anyway, this guy named Albert Brooks
and they
who did a lot of movies.
And they don't know the band. I just like the face.
Go ahead.
This man named Albert Brooks who did a lot of movies. I remember.
And he doesn't. He looks a bit like the Misfits logo now.
Misfits. Yes.
No, the
that's
Misfits
why we're not
logo
doing
was
it.
definitely directed off of a picture of Albert Brooks.
Yeah.
Albert Brooks in the Misfits. You saw that logo. They took it right from the Albert Brooks. Anyway, the point of the story is,
and that's what we're talking about plagiarism for.
So it was super cool that anyone would like talk to me at a Drew Barrymore. It was a gigantic party. This guy comes up to me and goes, Barry Sobel. I go, Albert Brooks. I'm like, I'm stunned and I'm nervous to talk to him. He goes, I go, I'm the biggest Albert Brooks fan. Yeah. You're like the coolest dude in the world. And he goes, you know what? I always wanted to ask you something. He goes, you did a movie with Tom Hanks. This is about, I don't know what impression this is. It's like an impression of Albert. You did that movie with Tom Hanks, right? Let me ask you something. You did that Punchline thing. What's with the lockers? He's mad 20 years later. He's Albert Brooks. He's carrying this around. I go, Albert, he goes, because you used to do stand-up comedy, Albert Brooks. I go, they put the lockers in the clubs after you were a comedian. So he goes, all right, nice. He goes, I burned him back. I had my wits about it. But even Albert Brooks is mad. Albert Brooks comes up to me like that's my fault 15 years later. So with that, I mean, that's why he mentioned that people are mad about that.
If you saw the Green Room with Paul Provenza, which was a show you go, I can never be a regular on this, and this is the most fun I've had. You did that. You were on my episode, and Belzer was on, and he's like, I was talking about selling merch after the show. He goes, what's merch? I go, it's that book that I read before I did stand-up comedy that you fucking put out.
I know. And I didn't have the balls. I read that fucking book. I was selling hot tubs in a fucking mall. And I read.
Hey, stop bragging.
Sorry.
Come on.
Sorry.
I didn't even know it was a podcast. I didn't come with any of my credits. Which mall, by the way? And by the way, can I get that job?
Yeah.
All right.
It's
How does
open.
this podcast
So
work?
you're so.
I was selling hot tubs in a fucking mall, knowing that I wanted to be a stand-up comic, and there was a bookstore. Like, I wasn't even in a shop. I was in, like, the middle of the fucking fairway of the mall, and all these old, piss-panted people would just stroll by me all day. I was in my fucking chinos and a button-up shirt tucked into my pants. Man, would you like to buy? Did you sit in the condominium model? And I just kept buying books out of the fucking bookstore, reading them, returning them, and the one was Richard Bell.
Yeah, I can't remember the name.
It was.
I remember
how to be a stand-up comic, but I didn't realize at the time that it was tongue in cheek. Like it was,
Snarky, yeah.
yeah. I was just like, none of this makes sense.
Did you ever write a book, Barry?
I'm about to write a book.
Are you?
I'm about to write a book about what's been going on for the last 20, 30 years. It's called
The last 20 or 30.
Just with you or everything.
I should pin it down. good call. It was well. It was
That's going to be a long book.
No, I am. It was really crazy, but it's a whole long story. I was on a thing called benzodiazepine.
Yeah, we
The last
talked
video.
about this last night.
Oh, I'll-
ran into you after a show in Oakland, shit-faced, but I was at the merch booth, and with one eye,
Now, what
I
is
go,
merch, by the
fucking
way?
Barry Sobel.
What is
Yes.
merch?
Merch was what I dismissed to go talk to you, and you.
Thank you so
and I
much.
remember saying, "No, I want to talk about this when I'm sober. Come to Sacramento," and you did. But
We could talk
you
about
have
it a
some
little later.
weird Xanax thing.
Well, we'll talk about that if we can do like a separate little thing about that.
Oh
If
yeah,
it's possible.
well,
but
fuck
let me
it.
just
We'll
mention
dismiss
though.
it.
But the thing is,
We'll
I
go
was-
off topic no matter how committed you are. Anyway.
I love that. So, but I also want to mention how out of nowhere I saw you years ago. It has to do with the same thing. I'm on a thing called benzodiazepine where I don't want to live every split second because it wants. If there's no way off of the thing called Xanax. I know you're on Xanax. After you take it for many, many years, the doctors don't tell you there's absolutely no way off.
That's why I was just calling bullshit last night, and that's why I wanted to talk about it
But-
sober, which we're not.
But that's to be continued. We'll talk about that at a different time. But I was in Texas, where when you are somebody on drugs, you run out of people in your life. When you make the phone call, I don't want to. I don't want to
taking
live.
the right drugs. By the way,
yeah.
There'll always be people. They just won't be the ones you want there.
Those were the '80s drugs. But when you take things that the psychologist gives you, a psychiatrist, and then like every day you're calling people, I don't want to live. How do I get off this drug? I don't want to live. Eventually, you run out of every single person wants to hear that phone call because it's very tough to get the phone call. I don't want to live over and over. And so somewhere out of nowhere, that's nice, nice. Nice to maybe when you minimalize my tragedy. I like it. Wait,
I'm not minimalizing.
but just out of nowhere, this old friend of mine goes, well, because he's like a trainer and who's about to get married. He goes, well, I'm going to be married in a few months, but you can come to my house in Austin because my fiance left for a few months, and I'll just try to, because I'm a trainer, I'll try to train you and try to get you athletically off this drug. And so I was living out of nowhere in Austin, Texas. And every second of every minute of every hour of every day is suicidal and horrible. So let me just get the Doug Stanhope.
No, I want to get how much Xanax were you taking?
It wasn't even that much. At the time when I met you and I was trying to get off Xanax, a Xanny bar is 2 milligrams.
Yep.
So I was, and this is on the bigger story. I was only on about 1 milligram trying to get off. But there's no way to step off of it.
Scary because
I had gone to a thing called rehab, and the girl came in. She was 16 years old. She was on 18 milligrams, and so nobody respects you when you're on 1 milligram or 2 milligrams.
Does
You can't
anybody
get
have her
off.
phone number?
I actually used that as a barometer. We knew a gal named Hags that would take 6 bars a day, and other drugs as well. I forget other pills as well, and maintain. And like I would take when I take a bar, it would be when I was flying from LAX to London to sleep for 14 hours.
Exactly. You take a
I don't.
bar.
Yeah. So now occasionally I'll take a half or a 1 milligram, maybe 3 times a week. But this has been since '95.
Well, let me
Go ahead.
This is to be continued. So hopefully you'll give me an opportunity to tell my entire story on a very special episode of. Wait, what's this podcast called?
More people were at the show tonight than are tuning in.
Wait, what's
All right.
what's the title
The
of your
Doug
podcast?
Stanhope podcast. I didn't title it.
That's like a TV show, and they got you to host it, which is a great,
Oddly enough.
a great coincidence.
it was never
That's
sure,
typecasting.
though.
That's typecasting for this podcast.
All right, tell me the rest of your drug story.
And one of the many days,
You're in Austin.
one of the many days, I would literally, when people say literally incorrectly, I literally did pay people every day to come over to the house where I was staying to get me out of bed by 2, 3, 4 in the afternoon, because I didn't want to lay in bed because that was hell, and I didn't want to go out because that was hell, because every second was too much mental anguish to just be in the world. But out of nowhere, I befriended a lot of young comedians, and out of nowhere, they go, Doug Stanhope's in town this weekend at the place you play. I play that place in San Marcos every Wednesday, once a week, trying to do stand-up comedy again, because the only...
This is like
This
3 years ago?
When was this? This was
Couple
about,
years? I don't know.
It was 3 to 4 years ago, and out of nowhere. So if somehow I got to on stage, if I was on stage for 10, 15 minutes, because of the adrenaline, that was the only time that the hell was not hell, because I was doing stand-up and adrenaline was taking over. So anyway, so next door to the place I play, or actually in that building, Doug Stanhope's going to be there on a Saturday, and all these comedy kids are like, hey, we're going to go see Doug Stanhope. I go, I know that guy, maybe I'll go. But then it's 6 or 7 o'clock, and I'm still not out of bed, and it's another horror day. So the point is, I got there, and I got out there, and you didn't realize when you were talking to me, that was just another day that was the worst day of my life. I was completely dead. I was dead, but it was so nice, because you've always been so nice to me whenever.
That's why he had so much in common with you. That's every day for Doug.
Have you seen the set tonight? Come
friendly.
on,
I'm friendly.
again with the minimalizing. Come on.
Oh, I'm not kidding.
No. Well, so anyway, so that's where I saw. So that's where.
How long did you do Xanax for
Well,
that
wait,
long?
but if we tell you now, I won't be able to tell you on the very special Doug Stanhope Xanax edition of this. But the point is, crazily enough, I had nothing to do every single night. I was just like in that bed, and so it was Doug Stanhope's in town, so I'd go see him, and it was the greatest night, and it was like, it took me out of my thing for like
I
hours.
do remember that night, which is
But
odd for me.
You had to say that if you think about it, I must have looked pretty weird, like I was dead or something. Or if you think about it, we have pictures of it. Like I look like 100 times worse than this. I don't know that people can see me. I look great right now. I look fantastic. I look like what, 30 something. But that night I looked like dead by a million times. But the point was, ironically, out of nowhere, I was first of all, I was also mentally ill, if I can mention that, because a lot of comedians.
You were.
I was
You
definitely
grew out of
mentally
it
ill.
in
I
your
was definitely on
50s?
Xanax. Listen to this. I was mentally ill and on Xanax. And then I go like, I'm going on the Google all night long, and I go, Artie Lang tries to kill himself. Artie Lang is mentally ill. Artie Lang's on drugs. I go,
You
this guy-
Googled that?
No, I'm Googling. I go, who else is mentally ill? Who could possibly help me? Because no doctors could help me. No people. Nobody understands Xanax. Not one doctor on the planet Earth who prescribes Xanax
Yeah, they just have to
understands it.
prescribe it. They don't have to understand.
Nobody
it.
understands it. They've never tried to get themselves off of it.
They get that pen with the holder. Why would they have to understand it?
So out of
got-
no-
You can
They
only
got
sign
swag.
Xanax. You can't sign anything
They
else.
got
I tried to.
They got swag.
So
I
out
had
of
the
nowhere,
T-shirt.
I see that I Google this and go, Artie Lang just tried to kill himself, stabbed himself 16 times in the stomach to try to. I go, wait, I got to meet this guy. Maybe he could help me. So then a year or two later, it's a very long story that I'd love to do on a very special Doug Stanhope podcast.
We're cutting to Glenn Wool because he has shit to say tonight.
Oh snap! Ice World. That's not fair. So anyway, wait. So 2 years later, I'm in New York City. I'm off drugs. I've been through rehab, and that's the beginning
Those
of
are
getting
three
off.
things I've never been able to say.
And,
I'm just fucking around.
no, I
there.
was trying to think of a joke.
No,
Don't try to think of
You
a
just
Wait,
joke.
talked,
what-
I was
what
like,
did I-
oh,
what did I
I'm
Thinking of
say?
taking-
jokes is for the stage and
You can
rubes.
never say 3 years later. Wait, that's what I say. Did I say 3 years later? Cut tooth. Anyway, I'm at the Comedy Cellar
I
hanging
shouldn't
out.
say 3 years later. Not at this point.
Very nice. So
Go ahead.
And so I'm at the Comedy Cellar. I'm upstairs, and then Artie Lang just went on, and then he's upstairs, and I go, "Hey man, I just want to say you did a really good." Barry Sobel. Oh my God, I'm the biggest Barry Sobel fan in the world. I mean, oh my God, it's such an honor to. People throw the word honor around a lot. It's an honor to be on a show with Doug Stanhope.
Not
but
in my presence.
Yeah, you threw
that's
that
about-
around a lot.
But that's about it. There's a lot of when other people go like, it's an honor that you come like on my Facebook. It would be an honor if you come to my show at the John Lovitz Comedy Club. That's not really an honor. Honor is like I got to work with the greatest living comedian. You know, this
That's
is like an
bullshit.
honor, and then got tricked into a podcast. So I
you.
realized that it's not quite as an honor as it is a trick. But
It was a trick on all of us because that's my tour manager who made me do a podcast.
well, can I just mention it's an honor to meet him as well?
Do you think I don't want to be eating the McDonald's that you brought up?
It's an
rather
honor
than doing
to
this?
to get McDonald's in a place called Sacramento. It's an honor to be in Sacramento.
Barry brought. Anyway,
So out of nowhere, Artie Lang goes, "It's an honor." I go, and I already remember that I was actually trying to meet him for 2 years in my head. And I actually meet him, and I go, "Hey, dude, I have a lot of things I want to talk to you about. I have a lot of similar problems. Oh, let's go have lunch next week." And so he takes me out to lunch next week, and he tells me a story about I have a very
I knew he was bad off, but if he's going to lunch with Barry Sobel,
talk about stabbing yourself 16 times in the stomach to kill yourself. That's one thing.
Can we go someplace with just a fork?
We got a commercial. We'll be right back. Do you go to commercial?
yeah, we
We'll
go
be
to
right back.
commercial. Right,
Do you actually
know
have
what?
commercials? We'll go to commercial.
No,
We'll be
yeah,
right-
no. We are sponsored by whoever you want to be sponsored by.
Can we do
So-
McDonald's?
I think he's just got to say
Yeah,
his.
well, sure.
We'll be right back with a word from McDonald's.
Don't do that. Andy hates crinkling bags. We
What?
both have phobias. I'm a wind and
He can't. He
balloons.
just walked through the
Oh,
door.
wait.
That can't.
Don't
have
crinkle
scared
But
him.
before we go
bags.
to commercial, the long story short is
Yes.
my life was saved by a very super famous friend of mine who had the money to put me in rehab, and then has been taking care of me by texting me and emailing me for the last.
Don't
2-3
you say
years.
Johnny Depp because you'll step on my dick.
All right.
I know.
I don't want to step on your dick, but I did see that ad on Craigslist. Can I do it?
Go. Who was it?
Well, no. But then he was telling me a story about how Bruce Springsteen called him on the phone. Bruce, Artie, this is Bruce. How you doing? So he told me the story, and then he was like, "I got to help you write this book because your life's a book." And so that's how that was answering your question from 45 minutes ago. Are you writing a book?
All right.
Well,
Go do it.
That
Andy.
segment was brought to
don't
you by
wanna get-
McDonald's. Well, but you
here's
can crinkle because the McDonald's bag.
No, Andy Andrist has a phobia about balloon. I have balloon phobia. He has crinkling. It's not phobia. It's irritation. He goes crazy.
I know, but he's not.
I have developed-
filing nails for me. Anytime anybody files they're fucking, and they'll do it anywhere because they don't seem to know that I've got the hearing of a fucking dog, but just on a train.
Mouth sounds make me. I look at people. Bingo, choose Nicorette gum, and it's like NPR radio, and I want to punch her fucking jaw. Just that slight smacking sound.
My brother has a whistling nostril. Oh. You tried
I
to
thought that was-
fucking eat a bowl of bran flakes.
I thought that. I thought that was the town in Canada you were born in.
We got to go commercial. We'll be right back from our
You know,
a word
and
from
you
our
know
sponsor.
you know who my brother is? Greg Wool, who was supposed to take the stage this evening.
Tonight-
long story short, too late. We'll be back with this word from McDonald's. Loving it. And he's not here.
No,
Andy's
you
not
put
here.
the G on it. They're targeting McDonald's at the Negro population, so they take the G off. You just said
Loving it.
Loving it.
Oh, okay. They're
No,
loving it.
you got to be loving it
That was
because they want black people dead.
ergo my joke that I was at the McDonald's and I go, "Got the Big Mac meal?" She goes, "What happened?" What happened was I asked for the Big Mac meal, and you turned into a
I don't-
19-year-old
I've
Puerto
never-
Rican girl.
I've
Do you
never
know what
heard
happened?
you did that bit tonight. I've never heard anyone say that except from my tour manager's girlfriend. What happened?
What happened?
What happened?
What
But in the
Look at him.
anonymous type of way, like the what do you call those memes? What happened? You know that the internet memes. I've never heard anyone say that in a fast food place.
Well, my jokes are not real.
I know I heard it.
No, they're not real. I'm saying. I like abstract.
Nice.
Wait, oh, so nice. Is it nice? Are we back from commercial? You don't really have a commercial? You have a,
You
do you
just
put the
plugged
commercial in?
McDonald's.
You put the commercial. Oh my God! They're
I just
delivering
plugged,
us.
They're trying to kill black people. We're back from commercial.
I walked into a Burger King in
Stop bragging
London
again.
once, and I ordered like a chocolate milkshake or something weird, and she just went, "Ain't got none," and I was like, "Wow, you got everyone wrong." Every word in that sentence.
In it. Ain't got one in it.
Ain't got none.
Ain't got one in it. In it. Ain't got one in it. Having a podcast, isn't it? Ain't it?
But here's what I wanted to say earlier about
that story I was doing?
no, there's a thing in stand-up that we all forget about when we go to rehab or we do things of that nature, and it's something that's happening more with the British guys or the international guys. It's not drugs; it's full adrenal burnout, adrenal gland burnout, and there's a lot of dudes that they're not fucking coking or drinking too much or anything.
Well, what is that?
Just the adrenaline. Too many shows. And there's dudes that have they've got to take a year off just because the doctor's like, yeah, like fucking, and maybe you won't be crazy.
All right,
I've never heard of that. Wow.
this deals with you, Barry, but I'm terrified. Like, I want to. When I quit smoking, the only way I could do it was take 6 weeks off and not be around people or cigarettes. If I can be at a place where I can't get cigarettes, I can quit smoking easily, and it's not even a problem. It's when I have to socialize. And sometimes I think, let me take a fucking year off. But Barry, you fucking quit. You had to go through rehab. Barry, well known from those days, and you had a career up until, at least as far as your act, you took some time off, and now...
Well, I retired before I was on the Xanax.
Is that what happened?
Wait.
No.
I retired first.
I'm not making a joke.
Yeah. No, but I can tell you what happened.
I
can tell you what happened.
The adrenaline.
It wasn't the adrenaline. That was. You said it was adrenal.
No.
Adrenal
We're
gland,
asking. Yeah. Did you get to? You retired. Fuck Xanax. You retired
first before the Xanax.
Did you
came
get
up.
to a point where you go? There's no more thrill in killing.
Well, here's the thing. So I was gonna see if I could do a podcast. I have like a million questions to ask you because you're the quintessential stand-up comedian. I was gonna ask you this question, leading to what happened to me, and that question being, do you like? Right now, we did a show tonight in Sacramento. It was awesome. People lined up. They love you. They're taking pictures. You were signing some guy's butt. I can't believe the amount of love you. I mean, I do believe it because that's why it's an honor to perform with you. You're like the greatest comedian there is. That's still alive.
It was kind of funny because I signed the guy's butt. He's like, "Would you sign my ass?" I'm like, "Yeah," and I made him pull his pants down real quick.
I wanted your signature on my ass.
And I missed the picture.
But no, he's trying to take a picture. Like, I go, "Just come any night." That's any night. Some dude wants you to sign his ass.
So my question is, so when you did that tonight, and every night you do this, and you have this life, and it seems like fantastic, is this enough for you to just be a great stand-up comedian? Or did you always want something else?
No.
You wanted to be a comedian.
I want less than this. I want to bartend. Like Becker bartends. You know Matt Becker.
Man.
So him and Andy are the two funniest people I've ever met in my life, just being people. And he bartends, and no one looks to him for new material. He's just spontaneously funny, and that seems so more fulfilling than doing this for... Okay. And there's people lined up, and they couldn't get in the show.
But having said that, all the people who are listening, who are your fans, are going, wait a minute, I just want to be Doug Stanhope. I just want to have
But
that
I would say this, the people that love Matt love him more than they love, like any tertiary relationship you may have with your fans. The people who like Matt's friends absolutely need him.
Right.
They, and
I don't really have friends anymore.
Yeah, that's what I'm not saying that.
But no,
you know what I'm saying.
You know more than us. Like, the longer you do comedy, the more people you meet that you love, like Glenn Wool, who I haven't talked to in a fucking year and a half. And we're in the trenches on the road. Right. You make really good friends really quick, and but you still don't actually have friends, and you can see dying alone.
I know. Matt's never gonna die alone. He's got fucking, you know. And
I don't know. Can you tell me who? Because I might be.
He's a friend of mine that's a funny guy that we started out doing comedy. And
what
then
city does he live now in the bartender?
Anchorage.
Oh,
Anchorage. He's out in the fucking the cuckoo.
But the point is, he has a real life.
He has a real life.
The
so
point is,
you would
he's
rather have
funny
this,
and have a real life.
I have to
got
beg the
3
question.
dogs that jump on your lap every time you go there. He's got he's making a helicopter in his back. He's always doing something that you would go.
The point is,
don't do that,
he doesn't have to go out to get laughs. He has a real life as a funny person.
I have to beg the question that all your listeners probably want to ask, and that is, why don't you just stop and be a bartender then?
Because I make way more money.
So you're a money whore. You're a guy, of course.
Yes, there is.
You still want them. Okay, so then I want to get back to me and I'll explain what happened to me, because it's the opposite of you. So you've always wanted. Wait, let me just clarify from the beginning. You've always wanted to be a stand-up comedian.
Let me preface this with: I don't make a lot of money compared. I'm not like I don't have star money. I'm not.
But you gave
Tom
me $2,500 for just that 5-minute guest set. What did you get?
What's that?
He gave me $2,500 for that guest set.
I think I get the beer free. I'm not
sure.
I haven't
actually,
seen the
there's
bill
an
yet.
honor jar.
Oh, right.
It's an honor just to be getting $2,500.
I stole that from Chaille. He said that the other day.
All right, so, but did you always from the get-go, because this is different, I had a different story, want to be a stand-up comedian?
I first of all, I don't remember a lot of my early life, including, but yeah, no, I did it like you do karaoke, and I when I was amazed when I got a paid gig, and then when I could do it for a living, and those were the best days. But once you establish where you go, oh, I'm making this much money, I would be stupid to not go out and do this when I live next door to a guy that's on disability, and I can buy him a fucking nice thing if I go out and just yell at people for an hour.
Yeah, but it's the first laugh too. I mean, you got to remember that part. The first.
I
time you
do,
got
but I don't
the
feel
laugh.
that anymore. The
No, but-
adrenal thing. Let's get back to you and the adrenal thing.
Yeah.
I don't feel that. People laugh all night. That doesn't affect me at all.
By
Bad
the way-
shows do. They still hurt worse.
But
Good
that's
shows.
but that's the connection right there, because you're not getting the laugh.
The hurt is more painful. The
It
laughs,
resonates more. It's something that's...
once you've killed at such an extent and you get your standing O, another standing O is, well, I already got this.
Yeah, no, but yeah,
It's like sex.
Yeah,
it's
of
like
course,
sex.
of course.
I've fucked you in every hole. You know, I put my balls in a
used to-
clamp, and like there's
yeah, but you're used to
no
good
way to
Coke,
heighten this.
but you notice
No way
when
to
it's
heighten-
bar Coke.
Yeah, but when you can't get it up,
Well,
it's more depressing every time.
That actually
Is that
that
right?
actually segues into me
Go.
tonight opening for you. I loved every split second I was on stage because I wasn't positive I could do that tonight. So since I didn't know it, because it was a big deal for me to do this and this, because I'm trying to come back and do this again.
Nor
So I
was
did-
there any pressure on you.
No, but it was for myself. I was like, wait, because I emailed you yesterday, can I do a set? But I'm always thinking, I'm just doing that, thinking, of course, the person's going to say no, so there's no pressure. And I'm like, wait, he said yes out of nowhere. Now I actually have to come here and do this.
No, I
didn't.
didn't.
Bomb in
First
front-
of all, and this is important, you
yeah.
emailed me on my Facebook page, which I almost never check unless I'm bored. So while I was watching World Cup, I was bored and watched. All I'm trying to think up is,
I had a sense.
and I checked Facebook, but I had already told, so we know the
But
rest
out
of
of
that
nowhere
story.
at the store club,
But
you
I-
said you want to do a set tomorrow.
There was like 4 Facebook things from you from San Marcos
Right.
days that I read all at once because Facebook piles up. There's 4 things from Barry
Yeah,
Sobel,
yeah.
Well,
and
to
one of
clarif-
them was,
the-
"Hey, if I can come do a guest set," and that's why Andy.
Well, no,
got fucked.
but to clarify though, when I saw you yesterday at the store club, I just went there to say hello because I couldn't. I had to do a show, and then I got there late. And the very first thing I said, I might go to Sacramento to see you. You went, all right. He'll do 5. He'll do. You just said I'll do 5, and then you said you read the Facebook the next day. So you just offered me to do it before you actually read the request. So it was super nice of you. So wait, when you said there's no pressure on me, are you kidding? I was like, I only told 1 or 2 people. It's like the biggest deal. You don't understand. You're so revered in stand-up comedy. Every single person. I did a show with this guy, Trevor Hill.
But you
Wait. I did a show with this guy, Trevor Hill. And 2 nights ago, he did a show with you. Saying,
in Santa
and he's
Cruz.
great. He's the greatest. And he goes, my life's not going to be as great the next day. I just did this. I went, what the fuck? Why can't I open for Doug Stanhope? Why can't I have a fun night like that? Why can't I be a Trevor Hill? Why can't I go backwards? And then
You've been in major motion pictures.
No, so I
you
put the
met
wheel-
Sally Field. How dare you?
So I put the wheels in motion and I got you to do it. So no, there was
you disrespect Tom Hanks like that.
But there were tons with the locker. But there was tons of pressure on me. Like if I would have bombed in front of Doug Stanhope, it would have been. I would never have rebounded from that. But instead, so that's what I'm saying. Every split second on that stage, because I hope you think I did a good job.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
I was the best. I'm sorry. You're the person who came right as we crossed the stage. You went. You did a great job. Doug still didn't mention if he liked it at
Barry
all.
Sobel got introduced by Keith Lowell. We tag team. We don't have an MC. So
Do
the
we
first
really have to
guy
take
who's
this
very
story from
funny,
a great story
Keith
to-
Lowell Jensen, brings him up as Barry Sobel's.
I know.
Because there's more than one of me when you see what I do. I'm on so many levels. I'm on so
He's
many
a plural
levels.
guy. And then Barry Sobel introduces Glenn Wool as Greg Wool,
My
which
brother.
happens to be his brother's
Because
name.
I thought his brother was going to do a show. I told him this. He
He-
said, "Don't bring me
No.
up. My brother's here."
He was back
Last-
with the other
last-
Barry Sobels, and none of them wanted to take the stage.
We got to go commercial. We'll be back with more from McDonald's. Loving it like you're at McDonald's. What happened?
Yo, go.
Okay.
Last night I was introduced by the MC as Doug Stanfield, and he did exactly what Barry Sobel is doing.
So what happened? So
So I ran up because the crowd oohed him when he said Doug Stanfield. Everyone's here for Doug Stanfield. And I went out and I go, I heard that. And then when he came off, I tried to make light of it, and he did what you're doing, but not as funny.
Oh.
I didn't do that, man. No, the crowd was fucked up. I'm not fucked up. But he's all like hip hoppy. He's a douche.
So here's
Anyway.
so here's what happened in the early '80s. See, I was always going to be, if I was going to be anything in life, I was going to be a cameraman, because when I was a little kid, we would skip out of school to go to NBC Studios and watch the Who, What, and Where game with Bill Cullen. But anything where they would let us into, I would go, and then it was always super cold.
Where'd you grow up?
Brooklyn. We hopped on the train to go to Manhattan when I was 13, because that's when you're in New York City, you're an adult at 12, 13. So I always loved NBC Studios. So the most I thought for myself was maybe I could be like a cameraman. And then my uncle, may rest in peace, had horses in Monticello Raceway, the kind on sulkies. So he took me in his lap, and I always wanted to be
Sulkies. Was that the
sulkies?
carriage?
Yeah, the
thing?
carriage kind of. And I
All right.
always wanted to be. So I was going to be a harness race driver, if anything. So out of
All right.
nowhere, I just to escape from New York City when I was 16, I moved to San Francisco because I had relatives. And in the week 2 or 3, I started doing improv, and I started doing stand-up. So I never was going to be a stand-up comedian, and then I proved it. But then the following, a year or 2 later, I don't even have an act, and I was in the finals of the San Francisco comedy competition on Showtime, and I was 4th.
What
Fred
year?
Willard. I don't remember the year, but I can tell you the year of the following
Really?
thing. The following thing I can tell you the year of, and that's the late Bill Graham, out of nowhere, took a liking to me. He was doing this thing called the US Festival.
Really?
And this was like it was going to be another Woodstock. This was in the 80s.
Yeah. No, I know about
He comes up and he goes, I want it to be like the biggest thing in the world. I want to have jugglers, I want to have musicians, I want to have every kind of act. So he hires Gallagher to go on their Friday. I want to have comedians. He hires Gallagher, who's very big, Gallagher.
Yeah.
He hires Robin Williams for Sunday. And out of nowhere, he hires me for Saturday. I don't even have an act. I don't even have 10 minutes. And I'm going to be in front of 250,000 people. Just to put it in perspective, that's 3 giant stadiums that I'm going to be doing stand-up comedy in front of. And I don't even have an act. I was opening up my show then with egg cartons, putting them in front of my ass because I was a very big Robin Williams fan. So I didn't even know what acid was. So the egg cartons, I put them in front of my face and go, "Oh, ladies and gentlemen, this flies on acid." Because I was influenced by Robin Williams. Ooh, something like that. So I didn't even have an act.
You should have used that tonight.
I mean, if I would have just done that. It would have been. So I don't know. By the way, this whole story is how I never wanted to be a stand-up comedian, and this is like I'm the opposite.
How many years
opposite.
now? 82. Well, that's fucking
Wait, so 83, I'm in front of a
32
quarter
years?
million people. So, do you want to hear anything about the US Festival story? I could give you that story in less than a minute. I didn't want to bomb. So, yeah?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
You want to hear this?
Wait, who hired you?
Bill Graham, the late Bill
Bill
Graham.
Graham.
Yeah.
But wasn't it Steve Wozniak,
Yeah,
the
he
one
was
who
his
put
thing,
on?
But Bill Graham was the person who decided who was going to be on it.
Yeah, that thing was going to be
The Clash reunion was
huge.
that day.
Yeah.
I went on after Eddie Money
Oh.
and before Santana, which kind of spoils the punchline of the
That
story.
I mean this was supposed to be. I think he lost millions.
Yeah, he wanted to
on
make
this-
the biggest concert in the
Yeah,
world.
and it was in Glen Ellen.
I
Was
know,
it-
no, I thought it was San Bernardino.
San Bernardino. Yeah. At the,
So
at
as
the
far
foothills.
as so if you want to sit in for this,
No,
I
I'm
don't
just
know how to
I
start.
just the detail from it was this
Yeah,
was
this was gonna be the biggest thing is-
hugest
yeah.
concert, and this guy lost his ass.
Yeah, but here's the whole thing. So the point about this
He
is,
knows the actual event, so
Right.
he's like, I want in.
No, please. No,
That's
no, cool.
great,
So the
Chaille.
point about this whole story was this was one of 20 things that happened to me in a row where I should have never had anything to do with this. And yet, so all I wanted to do is I was just a kid. I think I was 20, 19, 21. I just didn't want to bomb because it would have scarred me for life in front of 250,000 people. So I go to see, this is a little, I don't know how long you want to make this story. I went to see Robin Williams on Friday at the Holy City Zoo, this place, to tell him, because I knew he was going to do it. You know, like if you get a gig, you want to tell the other person you got the gig too?
Yeah.
So I went, hey, Robin, I just want to ask your advice. Like, I'm going to play the thing. What do you think I should do? He goes, you'll do fine. You'll be fantastic. And he's like, he didn't give me any advice at all. So I get there, and I had a plan on how to not bomb. And here's what happened. I brought my friend Chuck Prophet, who's famous now as a musician. He had blonde hair, but he dyed his hair black. The Rolling Stones were touring back then, and I had a Rolling Stones bit. So I dressed in a Clash T-shirt, but an orange tank top underneath and football pants. So as I looked like Mick Jagger at the beginning of that tour when he just started Start Me Up, he would come out in that exact outfit, but I had a Clash T-shirt on because the Clash were on that day, the only band that matters. And then so I get to the place. In my story, this is something I'm rewriting to put in that book that Artie Lang's helping me do the book. I believe I was helicoptered in because I don't know how we got there. I can't remember this in my life because I remember at the end of this glorious story, we helicopter out, but I don't think I've ever been on a helicopter. So I don't know how I got there or back. Just follow me on this.
I believe you.
I get there.
That'd be the weird thing to bring you up on. 250,000, I believe. Helicopters? Come on, Barry. Jesus Christ.
So I get there, and the very first thing is I see the great Bill Graham. Now, for the people of Doug's fans out there who don't know who Bill Graham is,
They think
Bill
you're
Graham,
talking about
one of them?
superstar Billy Graham, the wrestler.
Bill
Who
Graham,
I have in my death pool last year, so by this year.
Oh boy, he's the guy who brought us Janis Joplin.
I know.
Jimmy, no,
Bill
not for
Graham.
you. For the people who don't know who Albert Brooks is, he gave us the entire.
If you
60s
have an
pop
iconic poster of a concert from 1973,
or 60s on, he brought us everyone to
Either-
San Francisco. Jimi Hendrix. He brought the Rolling Stones around. He did.
don't
Yeah, he did-
delay
he
this
did-
story anymore.
He didn't do well, he did do Altamont, but
The Bill Graham. The Bill Graham comes up to me.
Distance himself.
I get there and I get ushered right over to Bill Graham, and he goes, oh, Barry, glad you're here. He goes, don't do what Gallagher did last night. I go, what do you
that's
do?
good advice.
What do you do? He goes,
To this day,
you know what? If you're just gonna make funny jokes about my story, if you're gonna make anyway, what is this, a podcast?
Yeah.
If you're gonna make jokes about my jokes,
Sorry, this is the World Service Podcast. We will
go
so he goes, don't do it, Gallagher. He goes, people can't see what I'm saying. He goes, Gallagher.
clammy handshake,
He goes,
wet handshake.
He goes, Gallagher tried to be so when you're on that stage, as far as your eyes can see were people to the horizon, to mountains miles away. He goes, Gallagher tried to be that big. Don't be that big. And he said the greatest advice ever, Bill Graham, if you're ever in a gigantic stadium's worth of comedy show, he goes, just say it here, and he pointed to the mic, and it'll go out there. So he told me how to do it. Just say your jokes calmly into the mic, and it'll go thousands of miles. Don't try to be Gallagher. Tried to be as big as the space.
The fuck did he try to do to that watermelon?
You know what? I got to. Come on. Can we joke? Come on. Greg Glengarry.
So how'd the
So
gig
anyway,
go, Barry?
so then I go. So here's the thing, though, Doug. You don't want to tell a guy like that how to introduce you, but I didn't I wanted to make sure he said I was going to be a comedian because there was no other comedian on the whole day. So I wanted to make sure Bill Graham told the audience this is going to be comedy. So I go, hey, you want me to tell you what to say about me? And he goes, no, I got it. Because you don't tell Bill Graham, who's introduced the most famous people in the world ever. Yeah. So instead of him doing what I wanted him to do, which is say I'm a comedian, Eddie Money, 2 tickets to paradise. And he's famous then, by the way.
This was not from the Geico commercial. This is actually when he did this song.
250,000 people applaud, and then Bill Graham goes out there and he goes, all right, ladies and gentlemen, coming up right now. You could see him thinking as he was saying it. A friend of ours, Barry Sobel. A friend of ours. He doesn't tell him I'm doing stand-up comedy. So I go out there. I'm doing like 5 or 6 minutes of jokes. Everything's okay. The flies on acid. It works. Everything's going well. And I don't know, when you play a club like tonight, there was a guy, everyone was laughing at my stuff except for one guy in the front who had a mustache, and all I could see is the guy with the mustache not laughing. Sometimes you pinpoint the one person, so there's 250,000 people.
Sometimes, every time. Go ahead.
So there was 250,000 people liking it or just enduring it, but there was this one guy right in the front going, fuck you, die! Literally, fuck you, die, screaming at me. And I could just tell, all I had to do was 10 minutes
What's
and survive.
that show at Edinburgh? Late in Line?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that.
I could tell it was just about to turn on me. You could just feel 250,000 people. And so then I went, what's next to McDonald's? Mick Jagger? And I went, and my friend, Chuck Prophet, comes from around a pillar with it plugged in, ready to go. And he starts the first chords of Start Me Up. And I could see 250,000 people's heads just look up like, what? That whole time that was Mick Jagger and he was telling jokes? Because there weren't screens. There weren't even screens back then. So you couldn't see me on the screen. So as far as you could see to a mountain, you might have thought that it was Mick Jagger. And I had the exact same outfit on, right? So I did it. And I did my hilarious parody like, eat me up. Don't make a grown man. I can't compete. Burger King serves 20% more meat. That's how much I should have done this show. And I got out of there. I helicoptered out of there. So it turns out, I guess. That
as far as you know, helicoptered.
As far as I know. And then so it turns out that maybe you don't tell Bill. Maybe he knew what to do by not saying I was a comedian, by not letting them know that these are going to be jokes.
No, he was a douchebag promoter that fucking thought he knew everything.
We got to go back to McDonald's. We'll be right back with another.
You're telling me that Bill Graham was not a seasoned comedy MC?
Hey, this is my friend Glenn Wool, also known as Word and Edgewise.
So Mr. Wool, the only reason I brought that story up was to mention that the following 10 years, I did so many things.
I thought he was going to segue into you talking. And he goes, by the way,
we got another 10 years to go before that happens.
Okay, so the next year I do this other concert. So the point is I did all these things where I was like the only white guy in an all-black HBO special with Chris Rock, Arsenio Hall, Eddie Murphy produced this. I did 10 years of stuff, but I also started doing movies and TV shows. And like I was picked to be the guy that Tom Hanks, they wanted his character to be like me in the Locker movie about the locker dancers. And then Albert Brooks and you started. And then so I did all these things I should have never done. And so I was on Punchline, Revenge of the Nerds. I was on Johnny Carson. I did like a whole thing I was on the show many times.
I'm going to segue from you because otherwise
the point of the whole thing, the point of the whole thing is I never once the movies and the TV shows started, that was like $15,000-$20,000 a week, or like you'd mentioned something in an article I saw. Here's your $50,000, here's your $100,000. So it was like I actually turned down like you can get $10,000. You want to go to Florida in 3 months? I go, I don't know if I want to go to Florida for $10,000. I was literally the opposite of you. I go, I'm already on this TV show. I'm in this movie. Why do I want to do stand up?
Let me
you can see where this is going, right? You can see.
No. First of all, I don't make that kind of money. I don't turn down $10,000. I'm a money whore in that I think that I don't have health insurance and my health is poor and will get poorer. So, yes, I think I better get all the money I can while I have opportunities to get work.
So I'm just the opposite.
When I said I'm a money whore, I mean, at some point it runs out.
No, but it's smart. So that's the thing is when all these movies and TV shows are happening, I was on a show called 227 for 2 years, and I was the white guy and a thing. But I like when they were thinking about the next year of 227, I really didn't enjoy myself that much in the project because I always wanted to be on like a funnier show. I heard that maybe on the Man Show you wanted to be funnier. You know, TV you don't really get to do it. They hire you to be
I only
funny.
did it once, and then I moved to a small town in Arizona going, okay, TV's bullshit. I don't want any part.
So I was thinking, you know, I wasn't even sure which way to root, like if it should be picked up for the next season, even though I would have made $500,000 the next season as just an ancillary eighth character. That's how much money and things. So I was like, oh, I'll do something else. But after that show, in the 90s, I actually did something every year, but there was no internet. This is the key to the success.
Oh.
This is the key to my unsuccessful story was I did something, like I started a movie in 92, I started a TV show.
Maybe there would have been if Mike Wozniak hadn't lost all his money
I gotta go commercial.
on
We'll be right back.
big concert.
I mean, if the guy would have just introduced me correctly, I think is the reason I wasn't
Hey,
famous.
I'm going to stop you because otherwise it's going to be your Wikipedia page.
Which has to be corrected. Somebody beat me to that page. So, but the point of the whole thing
I'm going back
is
to
I never wanted
Punchline.
to be a comedian.
I'm going
so
back to Punchline.
Yeah, sure.
Punchline, if you haven't seen the movie, don't. But as a stand-up
I
comic,
have to disagree. Come on, can I stand up for my movie? It's a great fun movie. Tom Hanks said this is where he learned how to act.
I'm asking you.
Tom Hanks, I don't hate debutantes.
I'm asking you both. Glenn Wool is the other guy here.
Hello.
It's not Greg Wolf.
Is there
Where did he go?
is there
Where'd Greg
any
go?
comedy movie that is representative of actual stand-up comedy? Like any comedy about stand-up. The Adam Sandler one, I thought was
Sort of.
kind of
Pretty good.
Yeah, for the coasts, L.A. and New York. There's never been a road comedy movie made that's representative.
Henry's Punching the Clown.
Yeah, but he was a folky singer
But can-
kind of guy.
Yeah,
But can I mention
it
this?
was
This also answers the question why I didn't tell him not to put the locker in the thing, was because Doug and your audience, it wasn't a documentary about stand-up comedy.
Have
It
you
was
ever seen a
fictitious
movie
Yes.
made, a fictional movie? Don't segue
What about
back.
the Seinfeld movie? That also I didn't like that much.
No, here's my
Well, that's
problem.
a documentary. I'm talking
But
about.
But even the
No, even that one I didn't
Seinfeld
love. Even that one I didn't
documentary
love
where
that
the
much.
whole basis
Even
of
that
it
one we
was,
didn't like.
He's gonna write a new hour, and like all the the European comics were like, yeah, like you do every year.
Yeah, if you work.
Yeah. Oh wow, how did he pull that off?
And have you done comedy in the UK?
I did it a few years ago, and at the Queen's Theatre with a thing with Larry Miller and Carol Leifer. was
But you've
awesome.
never hung out with UK comics. You know the Edinburgh
No, but
Festival.
I was there last year and terrifically bombed in one place in England. It was a.
It's easy to do. But what they do at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival is every year the fucking comics. This is so ripe for a union Che Guevara takeover of fuck you Edinburgh Festival. They sculpt an act. You tell me.
for just the festival.
And with a title and a through line, they make a play out of comedy.
Oh, yeah, I
It
hate that.
fucking
Yeah.
makes me crazy. But they're kind of forced to do that, or they think they are.
Well, see, it's kind of shitty, but it gives you the muscle memory to write a new hour every year. Where if you look at what's wrong with a lot of stand-up, is it's a lot of people resting on the laurels and not writing new stuff.
That's a good thing. The same way I feel about competitions, where, hey, if this makes me whittle down 7 minutes, not now, but when I started out, when I do competitions,
I
if
think
it makes
you
me
should
clean
still
up,
do competitions. That would be fucking wonderful if you just walk
go in as a ringer.
But can I also mention?
Hi, I'm Stan Doug Hope. I know I get it a lot, but I'm not him. Here's the new stuff.
Since you mentioned there was no really great stand-up comedy movie, and of course there hasn't been one, so let's just end that. There hasn't been one. Is there any possible way you would think of doing a movie about yourself on the road, since you're the quintessential comedian? And there couldn't be
I
anyone
would
else
if I could
better.
act, but I can't.
Why act like you?
And I can't write a screenplay. I don't have that.
Why can't it
But,
just be
yeah,
this? Why can't it be like more of a documentary? Because everyone just wants to see how it's done.
Well,
everyone should see that we're in this room, that you're putting out
But
your
I don't-
cigarette in my
it's
McFlurry next to the beer.
No, I
No,
never
wait,
did.
It would have been good though. I would have put that in the scene. We would have juiced up the scene.
But
a
I
little.
don't do what comics do, so I would be an anomaly to stand-up comedy, where you go, "Oh, that's how comedy works." No, not really. Not really. Do we have a fucking?
Well,
Look around you.
It begs
You
the
have
question,
Andy Andrus sleeping in a bed with my wife. My fucking tour manager's upstairs in a Residence Inn loft, opening the windows so we don't get charged $250 for smoking because we're smoking.
But here's the deal: I don't want to see a stand-up movie about your life. I want to see a stand-up movie about Andy's life.
They're making it. Paul Provenza is making it.
Well,
Evidently, Paul Provenza, you've been called out on the mat, and I trashed you on stage as with Dan Dion as the anyway. You had to be there.
you know what I mean, though. You know, and I think that's the question. That's what it has to be. It can't be about successful comics or comics who are about to be incredibly successful. And not that Andy's not successful, but that would be the real movie about stand-up comedy.
Well, they did the Unbookables without me having any involvement, and it was a piece of shit documentary because it made no sense. It was not indicative of anything other than a forced documentary and forced, contrived reality show type of situations without even a good producer to make it seem like, yeah.
Well, I wonder why that didn't work.
James Inman was at the helm. It's like if Windy City Heat was made with fucking, what's his name? The Mark as the Ashton Kutcher. Yeah.
What's his
The
name?
Mark is punking you.
Well, now we've got a title.
All right. I have no idea where this went. I think we did a podcast except for the Glenn Wool part.
Yeah, well, that's all right. Yeah,
Yeah, we'll edit Glenn Wool completely out.
I don't think you'll have to.
We were at some place.
See, look
Chaille?
at this picture that I just put on Instagram. Does that not look like what happens after a stand-up comedy show? You're the
No,
quintessential
that looks
comedian.
like what happens after 24 years of stand-up comedy is my seahorse posture, slumped over a table, drinking and going, fuck it, $250? That's fuck you money to me. I'll smoke in the room.
Do you know that seahorses mate for life and they hold their little tails together when they travel?
That was a brilliant fucking bit tonight. The swans thing.
Oh,
and
thank you.
I never saw that coming. And I thought, this is like, because I did a Penguins Mate for Life thing, and then I heard Greg Giraldo had done pretty much a similar bit on a CD. And back to you, when you said plagiarism, I was not talking about plagiarism. I was talking about similar concepts. He did one, and I kind of have the same thing. When I listen to comics I like, I just cringe going, oh, don't, I see where you're going. Please don't go the way I went.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
I got to an age where I don't even, I think I've built enough respect that if I did someone else's bit, they'd go, he must have not heard it.
Yeah, well, I don't even care anymore. Like, it's just fucking, if I know you, and with jokes, it's when somebody I know isn't capable of thinking that way, then I go, and if the words are too close, you're like, okay, no, that's a rip. Anything else?
I only told you tonight because if someone tweets it tomorrow, that guy did his bit. Fucking Andy gets his shit all the time. Oh, that your opening act was trying to be like you. I go, no, I'm trying to be like Andy. We've been friends for fucking 20 years. I'm trying to be like him because he's actually legitimately funny where I have to write shit down.
Yeah, man. I was just saying with Becker, too. And just like with Andy, fucking, he's got more people in his life who actually give a shit about him.
Becker and Andy have been bigger influences on me than any you always say, "Oh, who's your influences?" Well, Richard Pryor and
Yeah. Oh,
no,
fuck.
I actually know that.
Do
I
you
just
know
heard
how
them
many-
first, but I'm influenced by my friends.
Do you know how many people I pissed off in interviews? Like, who's your influence? My uncle. Your uncle's a comedian? No, he's not a
No,
fucking comedian.
he's
He
a
sells
funny
tools.
person.
Sells fucking tools.
Pepper
And-
Roach, who's Freddie Roach's brother, who's a fighter. Freddie Roach, the boxing trainer. We did fraud telemarketing together, and his brother Pepper was a funny fucking guy in telemarketing.
I thought you said Papa Roach.
No.
They were hilarious, though. Come on. They were
You
hilarious. And
fucking sold.
they were one of my
You did
influences.
telemarketing with Pepper. Freddie Roach's brother.
Freddie Roach ran another telemarketing room across town in Vegas, and Pepper Roach was in my. This was his line on the phone, and he'd stand up and he'd drop his pants when he said it. I'm gonna tell you what I tell my Sunday school class: have faith and believe, because you have. And he'd be standing with his pants down, and we're all trying to not laugh on the phone. Yeah. It's Freddie Roach's brother. They're both boxers from Boston. They're fucking great.
That's awesome.
So,
That's your
wait.
fucking comedy movie right there.
I don't remember my life.
You're not influenced by anyone that was a stand-up comedian, or are you?
Well, I was Andrew Dice Clay was the reason I got into comedy, because when I was doing telemarketing in Vegas, I would quote his when he just became big. I would walk around doing his bits. Yeah, he's got a good personality, but so does my cousin Joey. I don't want him to blow me. Whatever. But my boss had a cover band, and he asked me to open for him doing. I go, that's not my material. That's Andrew Dice Clay's his new comic. No, I didn't. I knew. He goes, I don't care. But I knew even then it's wrong to do. But the fact that I could get a gig by being funny made me sit down and start writing shit.
What year was that?
1990.
Were you influenced by anyone who was a comedian? I was Robert Klein and Robin Williams, Martin Mull.
When I was
George Carlin.
12 years
Robert
old,
Klein.
my parents took me to a Bill Cosby concert in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and we always used to listen to Bill Cosby albums.
My first concert ever, I took my mother, not music, but yeah, Bill Cosby. I brought her to Mother's Day to Bill Cosby in Worcester, and she paid for it.
Can I give you
Go
the third
ahead.
Bill Cosby and then that comedy competition I told you I
Let's
was in?
not ever let him talk. Let's just let him set us up. Bill Cosby, funny you mention it. Here's 45 minutes of us talking about Bill
I thought
Cosby.
you need people to talk in the podcast.
Go ahead.
It's still not understood why Bill Cosby goes to Saskatoon as much as he does. Like that's where
He's a money
I
whore.
was living. No,
Everyone.
Some have said that it's because he went up there in the '60s and there wasn't racism. Like, and they're all farmers too. Like they're fucking hillbillies and rednecks, but they were just like
Black people were like midgets. Like they loved him. I've never
who's
seen
this
one. I
guy?
want to hold him.
Jesus Christ, Bill's his name. Okay, well, come on in. We'll fucking talk to this guy. Oh, he's got some stories to tell. Okay, sit on the thing and tell you not too bad either, right? And then the other theory is that he had a mistress up there, whichever way you want to go with it. But he went to Saskatoon, and he was already the family's favorite comedian, and we were just fucking amazed that Bill Cosby would be up there, and they took us to the concert, and that was the. Before that, I wanted to be.
I know. I won't eat on we talked about this earlier. Mouth noises are my biggest pet peeve, so I will not eat that fucking cheeseburger I'm so starving for into a microphone.
Well, then you don't mind
dedication.
if I eat it.
I'm sorry. Are we still talking about
you don't
Bill
care about
Cosby
the
for 10 seconds?
Because the cheeseburger in the microphone.
Yeah, and it was at that point I decided I wanted to be a stand-up comic because Before that, I'd wanted to be a professional wrestler or a priest. And stand-up comedy combines the two.
And you're not bullshitting.
No, it's true. And it fucking worked. And even at that point, when I decided I wanted to be a comedian, I made the deal, like I sort of like sized it up and went, okay, don't do impressions and don't do catchphrases. Anything you want to say that's funny, make sure it's out of your own head. And for many years, people thought I was quite strange.
Hang on. When you say don't do impressions or catchphrases, can you do Chris Rock doing light?
Doing what?
Doing nice and
Nice. Is it nice? It must be nice. Did you hear the?
You did impressions of catchphrases.
I just, is it nice? Wait
And
for it.
he's
Why are we
played
waiting
to
for
a
it?
quarter of a
What
million
happened?
people, and I drove for 19 hours to do 10 minutes on your show tonight. So,
Well, the good thing is you got to do an additional 4 minutes on an hour and 15-minute podcast.
I'm really sorry about hogging the time. I've never been on a podcast before. The thing.
I've never been on a podcast before. You look so young for saying something like that.
No, I've been on a few. I've been on 2, 3, but not. I usually shy away from doing podcasts.
It was a pleasure to have you both.
Because it's not usually a guy like you. I was like, oh my God, like Stanhope was a podcast. It's usually like some guy does not have an
Flattery will
act.
get you nowhere.
Some guy does not have an act, but he's famous on his podcast. And now he goes and tours places, but he wasn't funny, but he's funny from his podcast.
you ever get that
That's
when
everyone.
you show up? I mean, it won't happen to you now, but sometimes I show up at the towns and they're like, come do our podcast. And they tell you all the lists of people that you know
Who've been on
that
it.
have done it. And then you show up and they're like, yeah, just whatever you want to talk about. It's like, I don't want to talk about anything. I wanted to be in my fucking room watching the hockey game on the internet, getting ready for my show.
This
That's
is
what happened here. He said, get some burgers, and I came back. Like, well, you're on the podcast. What? I thought we were
The best. Fuck you. Fuck you. You,
It's an honor
you
to
had
be
to
tricked.
bum a ride from Andy Andrus to do 10 minutes. And you have no way home.
Life is tough. You know?
How dare you?
that is
act
quite
like
an
this is
epitaph.
Some inconvenience to you as you Priceline a fucking another hotel. When you search out this place and go, there's no couch for me. I got to go on Priceline to do 10 minutes. You go, I didn't even know I had to do this.
Yeah,
Go fuck
another
yourself, Barry Sobel.
podcast.
You're still funny, but go fuck yourself. Sorry,
back with this
there's
work when
no
we're done.
microphone in the heckler bed, but Andy
bed?
Andrews said, by the way, I have to go call Screech. Hey, not funny. People remember Screech.
Nigel, come on over. Come on, man.
I didn't even know there's another guy till I heard a guffer in the back.
Buddy Nigel. He's,
Nigel.
Nigel Lawrence. Very funny.
Nigel.
comedian.
Hey, this podcast sponsored by Nigel.
Yeah.
Nigel, can you tell us anything about your line of products? Tell us something. Hey,
Yeah, here, eat this.
There's
Eat
a
this,
burger for
Andy.
you.
There you go.
I got you a pie.
No,
What do you mean no pie?
save me a bite of that.
What? I got
Let's.
extra pie.
What time are we at, Chaille? Over an hour.
Well,
That
just
means
quickly, Nigel just came over. Nigel, tell us about the products. Just quickly about what's the new products this year.
Hoarding hamburgers over here in a corner. It's the most pathetic thing I've ever seen in my life. You got a wine glass full of cigarettes.
Nigel can't say what he's-
Monsanto corn sponsors this segment.
Nigel
All
can't
right.
say what he's selling, but it's great.
this podcast has devolved into chaos. We appreciate you listening to the Doug Stanhope podcast with Glenn Wool and Barry Sobel. If you would like to crinkle a bag into a phone,
Sorry.
if you would like to call our burner phone, the number is 520. You wrote down 752. 520-366-1078. Don't just call up and say dumb shit. because I haven't checked it once. I did check it once, but we will check it. So that's a thing. I'm gonna eat a burger and go pay $250 for smoking in the room. You can't pay that up front. I've tried that. Well, you have to initial the thing. It's a $250 charge if you smoke up front. I go, should I pay that now or at the end?
See, you're such a baller. This should be a movie. Everyone wants to be you. The thousands of
I
people
say it
listening
like
to you.
I'm kidding.
Oh, boy. It was an honor to be on your show. Thank you so much.
If I ever hear you say that on every other fucking podcast.
Well, it's an honor to be on a lot of people's podcasts. It's an honor.
It's just good.
Barry Sobel, Glenn Wool, go.
It's just good to be in Sacramento with good friends, and you couldn't have predicted it. If you were driving from Calgary to Sunnyvale and went, geez, I wonder. Let me just have a look at touring comics in the area. Oh, look
There
at
we are.
everyone I've ever fucking met.
There's beds laid out everywhere.
Tomorrow I'm going to
It's
do
a
a show.
campsite. I started comedy like this. You used to fly in helicopters, but when I started, it was everyone sleeping anywhere they could find floor space
Yeah.
in one hotel room, and we still do that.
Maybe the middle did a helicopter impression.
I've slept in this. Okay, all right, hang on. Bingo will sleep with Chaille because she knows him, and I'll sleep with the guest spot that got too fucked up in the other bed in the same hotel room, and that's recent. Like, I tweeted that the other night where I go, I woke up and I'm between Bingo and Chaille, my tour manager, and they're both snoring so offensively, like all our neighbors are going, will they shut the fuck up on this podcast? And I'm like, I tweeted, I can't sleep between. They go, get them different rooms, dude. Like, fuck no, that's a waste of money.
Let me tell you a story. You remember New York? Remember when we fucking...
I remember telling you the same joke 3 times in a night over cocaine, and I remember what the joke was. Anytime there's drugs involved, I remember. Note to the kids, hey, this podcast is sponsored by narcotics. If you want to remember the night, do uppers. GPS. You don't even remember.
Tell me.
It was some joke. It's on a CD somewhere now, but about how we live in an age where people have a crucifix and a GPS on the same dashboard. Like, I thought it was a great fucking joke. Like the dichotomy.
See, I felt bad about that night because I fucking did. It had come up in conversation, and I'd like done a full fucking bit in front of you that I'd already done, but I was like, no, you gotta hear this because this is what we're talking about. And you were Mishka
Shabali.
Yeah. He was there, too.
He opens the show on this podcast.
He was there, too, and I'm all fucking wired, and we're smoking out front
what
of
year
the
is
bar.
this? What year was this?
And
5-6 years ago.
Yeah, and I'm trying to get through this whole bit, and you're just looking at me, and you just looked at me. He goes, "I'm going for a piss. Tell me if he segues." But that night, the next day, I mean, we drank so much. Like, you brought out your fucking vodka that you steal from planes. Like, you have, like...
No, I don't steal it. I bring it on
But
plane.
you don't steal it. Yeah, you didn't take... There wasn't a cart or anything.
No, the mini bottles, you can bring those in your 1 quart bag. Mm-hmm. You can have that much liquid. You can bring 10 mini bottles in your shampoo bag through security.
Yeah,
anyway,
he's checked.
We've talked about this on the podcast.
So, anyway, we got through all of those, and I had to be...
I was calling hookers.
Not when I was there, but, yeah.
The night we stayed up, this is the hotel bar.
Yeah.
I didn't want to leave, and then somehow you found cocaine. I remember at the time it was the biggest bar tab I'd ever paid. We're in Times Square, and it was like $385 just to sit there and drink all day. And we went to my room.
The thing. I showed up. You'd been there all day, I showed up dressed exactly like you in like a trench coat and a toque, and I didn't even have to ask where you were. They're like, he's over there, and fucking Dink and Doink are now sitting.
It's a $1 hotel. We're at the hotel bar. We don't belong, but I've been drinking all.
He's drunk. I sit down. I'm sober. I look at the state of him. I'm like, I'll get a shot of tequila. He goes, get him too. So now I'm trying to catch up to you, what you've done all day.
And it's Times Square, so they're like $12. Everything you drink is $12.
Exactly, and then the man comes along like the Lou Reed song. So now we've got fucking wind assistance to our debauchery, and we close the hotel bar. We're back up in your room. We're smoking in the fucking stairwell, and I'm paranoid because I've gotten way too much coke. I've got to fly to Atlanta the next day, so I've got to finish all the coke that I've ordered when I was drunk, which is never like a reasonable amount. Like, yeah, all of it. Just bring it all, and we'll see what we do. So,
How much you got?
A lot. We got a lot, and then I left you there after we went out into Times Square at 6 a.m. to buy fucking
Jesus.
orange juice, coked out of our head, dressed the same, and we thought we were gonna get in trouble for orange juice. Like we didn't even, like we had the vodka in the room. We're like, can we buy this? Yeah, idiots, you can buy mixer for vodka. Well, good. Give us some smokes too.
I remember like whatever in the morning, staring at you with that glazed over look, but I'm on like the internet, like trying to find hookers that will answer their phone.
See, I didn't even notice that. I'm just trying to tell you my fucking B material. Yeah, here's another idea I had with your GPS cross thing. So here's what happens. I go to the airport unslept. And, but like I'm starting to get on the wane of, okay.
Kill it!
I should be all right. And I sit down on the flight.
Airport? What airport was that?
One of the New York ones. I can't be certain. I sit down on the flight.
It's a non-stop, so it's Delta. Go ahead.
And there's a woman.
It's going to Atlanta. Don't you remember your airports?
Ah, yeah.
Your hub cities.
There you go.
Remember.
There's a woman in like a knitted cat T-shirt, and she's reading like one of those sort of Christian novels, like in Jesus' path. Like she's a really nice woman. I'm like in the aisle seat, and she's in the middle seat, and I'm friendly, and she's really like friendly too. She has to be. Religion says so. And I started, yakking to her, talking to her in a way that I never would if I hadn't been fucking wired.
Gacked out.
Yeah. And, but it's starting to, I'm starting to drift off. And I just remember the plane taking off. And I actually said to her, I'm like, look, I got to get a bit of sleep. And she's like, hey, that's no problem. You get some sleep. And I just remember the plane taking off. And then I remember the jerk of the tires on the tarmac. And I wake up like that. And I don't know what I'd been doing in my sleep, but that woman was like pinned against the other armrest. I don't know what sort of sounds or gropes I'd been fucking making.
She's stuck to the wall like a fucking Garfield in the back of a fucking windshield in 1980.
So I get to Atlanta, and I'm going down those, that's like ridiculously long escalator, like those ones in
the trams.
There's a train.
But those like moving sidewalks too, and I turned my phone on, and that's how I knew I had drank a lot that night, because you had left a message that just went, ouch.
That's a very important thing, I feel, when you get fucked up with someone all night. like
You have to leave the ouch.
a brotherhood where you know you're the other guy's like a normal fuck up, and you know you're gonna wake up thinking, "Oh, I did a bad thing last night." It's important to make at least minor contact the next day to go, "Oh, I feel really bad. Do you feel really bad?"
Yeah.
Okay, good. We're on the same page. You're not like I'm. Because if someone doesn't call back, I thought that guy was going to crash at the house. I feel, well, he's not here. Did I say the bad thing? Did I lose a friend? There's that paranoia of
Well, because you can't remember the last 20 minutes of conversation.
the fact that this is years later that you don't remember me telling you this same joke I thought was brilliant, and you told me that's the third time you've told me that joke. I remember that from that night, and every time I hear that joke, I think of you going, "Oh, I just kept telling I was like open mic or working out material on a friend." You have to make that contact.
But
All right,
here's
we're-
the thing about the whole night. I was worried that I had tried material out on you, so we both held the same fear of the evening, and no one was able to say to each other, "Did I do that? Did I do that?"
Well, that's a good closer. Barry will have something to
Doug,
add.
I was just going to mention, thanks for having me on the show. Ouch.
He drops the mic. He said, "Ouch," and dropped the mic.
That's right.
Def Jam style. He's out.
He's been in the game long enough. He's earned that mic drop.
All right, that's the Doug Stanhope podcast. This podcast has been brought to you by Saks Underpants, Sabra Hummus, Plastic Jug Vodka, Niles. What's his name?
Cheesies.
What's your friend's
Nigel
name?
Lawrence.
Nigel.
And,
McDonald's?
Cheesies. It's a Canadian cheese snack
Yep.
that I
Not Tabasco
fucking
sauce?
love.
Anything but Tabasco sauce?
And Tabasco sauce.
Not
I
Tabasco
think it's
sauce.
Okay.
No, it's terrible. Green Tabasco.
Well,
we don't
you
ever.
shouldn't offer
we
it up as a thing somebody else can say on your podcast.
No,
'cause
it's
I
terrible.
fucking love
Every
it.
Tabasco,
Put it on
every
your
hot
eggs, you
sauce but
prick.
Tabasco. Okay, that's it. All right, you're all out. Get the fuck out, everybody. Get the fuck out of my hotel. You stink this up. I'm going to report you for smoking in my room. You, Barry Sobel. You all smoked in my room. Glenn smoked in my room. Nigel, he's not. He probably doesn't belong in this country. He's an interloper of. Where is my customs and borders? Remember that show we watched? What you got there? Customs and smugglers. Customs show. Yes, they would. Don't worry, this will all be cut out. Bye. Play the Matoid. You know what? No, wait, hang on. Let me stop. Someone tweeted and thought Play the Matoid is the name of the band. The Matoid is the band, and when I say Play the Matoid, that's when we play the Matoid.
What has happened to the Matoid, by the way? I fucking love the
Off
Matoid.
mic. Play the Matoid. That's my favorite closing band.
Play the Matoid.
Party time. Party time. Party time. Party time. Drink your drinks and eat your eats. It's party time. Laugh your laughs and eat your eats. It's party time. Smile your smiles and blue your blues. It's party time. There. Dance your dance and shoe your shoes. It's party time. Howl your howls and suck your socks. It's party time. Yeah. Oh baby, grab your craps and fuck your fucks. It's party time. Grab your craps and fuck your fucks. It's party time. Everybody, grab your craps and fuck your fucks. It's party time. One more. Grab your craps and fuck your fucks. It's party time. Here we go. time, party time, party time, party time, party time, party time. Hey! Party